The James Show Podcast.
Two big topics of the day together. Number one is the election. Number two is Iran. Dr. Bo Kabbalah from Tarleton State University is coming back on the James Show. And we've been talking about both the entire show, but when I squish them together, my first question becomes, Bo, is Iran going to affect Trump in the midterms?
Well, and good afternoon. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me. I think it's a political issue for sure. We're seeing elements of the base certainly not happy. Tucker Carlson did the interview. Marjorie Taylor Greene, other grassroots supporters expressing dissatisfaction. To me, the president does best when he speaks directly to the American people, builds that rationale. And I think there is a more subtle America First rationale to be made here. Elbridge Colby at the Defense Department has been presenting it, but it does take a few steps. It takes some explaining. And so I think a number of us are looking forward to the president connecting directly with the American people.
Well, I think the hardest thing about predicting how this will affect the midterms is we don't know how long this is going to last. And I got to think, if this does last a long time, if we do have a bunch of casualties, if it's not just some, couple week bombing campaign and it drags into the midterm elections, I think that has to be a negative.
Well, and I think I mostly agree with you. And just to see some of the different statements coming from the administration gives one pause. On the one hand, the president has seemed to suggest this is going to last for a few weeks, but he said it might be longer. J.D. Vance has said absolutely no boots on the ground. President Trump just the other day saying if he has to do the right thing and it takes boots on the ground. So that is certainly unsettling for a number of supporters and Americans. To me, the two rationales, well, anyway, back to you. It certainly can be unsettling.
Well, so we're talking about Iran and the election all day today. Your thoughts on the reports of voting irregularities? Because I have a bunch of people that are on hold right now that I'm going to get to when I'm done with you that are talking about how they had such a brutal experience trying to vote.
Are you talking about sort of in Texas, if I'm hearing you on
well,
that,
it seems to be specifically Dallas County. They changed the rules on where you vote. And so a lot of people went to the same voting place that they've gone to for the last, 3-4 cycles. And they found out the day of that they have to go someplace else. And it seems to be a fiasco because they feel like they didn't get proper notice or whatever.
Well, and I feel like if you're referring to, Congresswoman Crockett did make a number of points as sort of, she's edged out in this, Democrat Senate primary by Jim Tallarico, sort of about possible disenfranchisement. To me, the constitutional point, and it's easy to forget, is really states currently do run elections, and even localities have a tremendous amount of control over where that polling station is going to be and what kinds of adjustments are going to have to be made. So until relatively recently, Texas was on a list of states that had to ask permission of the Justice Department, pre-clearance, we used to call it. If you wanted to move that polling location, even a few blocks, one direction or another, that's no longer the case. And so, could I see adjustments at the local, city, municipal, county level? I think that does happen. Is it disenfranchising? I think that's a harder conceptual case to make.
Agreed. All right, Dr. Bo, from what you see in the Iranian conflicts, anything stand out? Are you concerned about this, or do you think this is going to be something that's largely forgotten in 3 months?
I don't think it's going to be forgotten. Just to see some of the adjustments, pivots, if you will, that the president is making. So to me, the two rationales, I don't discount either, that could incline an administration to take these steps. So the nuclear proliferation threat, I don't think that's a trivial concern. We've talked a lot about a few months ago, the different facilities being decapitated, and there's been a lot of focus on Natanz, but the Bashir enrichment facility was left largely intact. So I don't discount that rationale. And there's also, I mentioned Elbridge Colby at the Defense Department, who's kind of saying, if you look at the global chessboard and you're asking about America First principles, not wanting to allow for the ascent of China as a superpower, the U.S. is a net exporter of oil. China's a net importer, and they get 50% of their oil through the Straits of Hormuz. So if you had a moderate regime in Iran that was maybe, in a reasonable way, regulating where the oil goes, would that be better for America? Would that be better, for the world? That's the rationale that's being offered by Elbridge Colby. And as you see, moderates like President Pezeshkian currently left in in power, unlike some of the hardliners who've been decapitated, you wonder whether that really isn't the long-term plan of the intellectuals in the Trump administration.
All right. Well, Dr. Bo, I hear you on the morning show sometimes, and I want you to know it makes me very jealous.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Very possessive with my good guests. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Going back to the phones here. Sandy, Lancaster. You're on WBAP. Tell me about your voting experience, Sandy. Sandy, Lancaster, tell me about your voting experience. Go.
Okay. Well, it's like everybody else said. Only at the last minute did they change the polling places down here. But our experience was even worse. There was a guy when we went to the library where we usually vote. He had been there, got sent to another elementary school where we were sent. And he had been there at 4 different places. We went there. The Republican side was shut down. It was there, but it wasn't working. They told us to go over to the Democratic side and get our ballot ticket. And so we did. But when the ballot ticket printed out, when it showed the primary, it showed Democratic on the ticket. So they said, you'll still be able to vote on the Republican ticket. And so we had our tickets negated, and we finally found the right place was at the middle school. There were no signs out in front of the school whatsoever denoting it as a polling place. And only when you went around back to the gym could you find the place for the Republicans to vote.
Well, that seems like kind of a pain in the butt. Like, I don't think Democrats would cheat Republicans in the primary system because this doesn't really affect them. Like, what good does...
I've got a copy of the ticket. I could even see you.
Oh, I'm not doubting you.
Supposed to vote on it said Democratic. It was that we were voting on the Democratic primary, not the Republican. So we finally got to the middle school. There was no Democratic primary there, just the Republican. There were no signs indicating. Only when you went around to the back and found the gym could you find out where the poll was, even see. And they told us we were on the 11th person in there all day.
11th? That's wild. Yeah. All right. Thanks for sharing your experience.
Republican polling place down here.
All right. That's Sandy in Lancaster. Back to the phones we go. Just getting some voting day experiences from your neighbors. This is Alex in Dallas. You're on WBAP.
Hello. I usually go to the library at Garland Road near Lockwood. I've been there the last 5 cycles voting there. When I went there yesterday, I was told to go somewhere else. Half a mile away, it's at the Reinhardt Elementary School. We used to go there also in the past. And that's when I found out about the change, but nobody told me it was that day. I just thought maybe it just changed prior to that. The one thing I did notice, though, there were no lines at either place. And I voted Republican. So
what time of day?
It was probably around I want to say about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, that's not really a very busy time. So other than that, everything else go okay? Your ballot checked out okay? Everything looked fine?
Everything checked out fine, but in the past I've gone around the same time. There's always lines. There's always some kind of a line. There were no lines at all.
Even during primary elections and off years?
Yeah, usually, yeah.
Okay.
But I think people are taking more advantage now of the early voting because I think they had a big turnout for that, didn't they?
They did. In fact, Collin County set a record. And when you look at the sheer number of votes, there does seem to be a little more enthusiasm on the team blue side. They got quite a few more votes. In fact, I think they almost doubled up the number of Republican primary voters. But all right,
I don't think it hurt any party more than the other.
No.
It's going to be even, I think. So I don't think Jasmine Crockett has any kind of a case.
Well, and I think the best case against what she's saying is don't put malice in front of government malfeasance when it comes to why they messed up. Like, they probably didn't do it on purpose. They're probably just inefficient, like every government program in the history of ever. All right. Thank you, Alex. Chaz, also in Dallas. You're next up on WBAP. What was your voting experience like?
How's it going? I voted on Samuel and East Grand in East Dallas, and we are very heavily Democratic, but we usually have several voting sites that I would go to. I was a lucky one that checked my mail and happened to have gotten the voter registration card that told you where you needed to vote. I actually found it the day before, so I found that out that I'd have to go to Samuel Grand. It was very, very busy. The Republican line was non-existent. They constantly had voters, but maybe 1 or 2 out of 6. We had the same amount of voter machines on both sides, Democratic and Republican. But what was strange is I got there at 5:45. It was quite a long wait time. You're talking, I got there at 5:45. I was like, okay, cool. At least I'm here before 7. I was told it was going to be a 2-hour wait. And as we were waiting, we were told that the voting was extended till 9. Well, as I go to place my vote, it's 8 o'clock, so I've already waited 3 hours and 15 minutes. As I'm posting my ballot, they're saying, hey, we're stopping voting. We're told on our machines to stop voting for everyone. And it was confusing because even the people in the line behind me had gotten there before 7. There were, some that were closer to 8 and 8:15, but they were kind of already worrying people or getting people off because they had things popping up on their screen. So I was just confused as to if my vote was going to count. And then we hear about our votes possibly being provisional from 7 to 9.
Yeah.
My vote was cast at 8, and I had been there since 5:45. It's a little confusing. I'm worrisome that there were several people that didn't vote. I saw several people leave because of the wait time.
Yeah, and Chaz, how do they know that you were or weren't in line before 7 o'clock to not count your vote, right?
As soon as you got in the door, they had people that would take in your information to let you know, hey, you were at the right location or not. And then they were constantly going up and down the line, checking on everybody, making sure people hadn't cut or hadn't snuck in from a different entrance. They really were taking things really well. It just got really weird whenever 8 o'clock hit and they were told stop voting after they had been told to have them open till 9. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened with all the people that were left in line. I have a friend I need to follow up with.
Yeah, okay, but Chaz,
back to you guys.
Chaz, you did a great job giving us the details of what happened just objectively. Now, subjectively, do you feel like there was any funny business at play?
There at the location, I don't think so. But I think in the mix of as to the changing of the times and the location, yeah, I think it was to get people from being able to cast their vote, knowing that they're going to be lower income or minority families that couldn't make the travel to last minute these voting stations. I mean, Samuel Grand allowed older, if you had any issues or if you had children that needed to be carried, they tried to get you in beforehand so that you didn't have to stand as long. But yeah, I think there was definitely some voter fraud involved, 100%. And then Ken Paxton being on the ballot, the one that said stop voting, seems a little funny to me.
Okay, there's Chaz in Dallas with his voting experience. Thank you very much for sharing that. Great storyteller, that Chaz. Let's continue gathering more info here before we make our final decision. Amy in Louisville, you're on WBAP. Did you see anything funny voting on Election Day last night?
Hi, James. I actually emailed you last night after I got home from the polls. I don't know if you saw it or not, but here's basically what happened to me. It started the day before voting when I jumped on the Secretary of State website I always check my polling location because it has changed before. So that's the last thing I do. I jump on the voter portal. And so I live in Louisville, and it was coming up a church in Frisco, Texas. So I said, well, that's not right. That's weird. So I tried it again. I tried it through my driver's license number. I tried it through my zip code.
Wait, you live in Louisville and your polling location was in Frisco?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I said, well, this is wrong. And so I contacted the Denton County election place. I said, hey, this is what's going on. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's weird. Okay, well, here's the address. And I go, okay, well, are you going to put in some sort of ticket, for your something's going on with the website? I didn't think at that point it was actually the Secretary of State one. But she's like, yeah, sure. And I knew that wasn't going to go anywhere. So then I proceeded to call
sure. That sounded real reassuring there.
Yeah, I knew. She was some young gal. So then I placed my third phone call, and I called the Denton County Republicans because I knew that they would take care of it and that this would be alarming to them. So I said, hey, this is alarming. And then when I told them the polling place, she goes, oh, no, they gave you the Democratic one. I go, oh, okay, well, I'm glad I called. So then she finally gave me my correct Republican, which was down the street. It sounded right. And I said, hey, are you going to say something? Are you going to alert somebody? She goes, oh, yeah, we've got the people. We're going to alert right away to the appropriate people. So I kept my eye on the website, and they must have got right on it, Secretary of State, because within about an hour and a half, it changed to my real one. But what was even more alarming is when I told the Denton County Republican, I said, hey, it's coming up Frisco, Texas. And she goes, literally, quote, swear to God. She said, oh, no, they did it again. They did this last year, too. This was the Secretary of State website. So at that point, I was all up in a whatever, and I was like, I called Brandon Gill's office in Washington, D.C., and I got a staffer on the phone. And I said, he's on the ballot. He probably wants to know something like this. And the kid there, too, he was like, oh, yeah, thanks for calling. I go, no. He goes, yeah, I'll let him know. I go, no. You need to let him know now. It's 1 o'clock on the day before polling. Something needs to be, So anyway, that was that fiasco. I went and voted, and I asked them there. I said, hey, have you guys been having confusion issues? And she's like, yes, all day. They've been sending wrong people.
All right, Amy, all of us want you to do your impression of the guy on the phone again, the staffer.
The staffer, he's like, oh, yeah, man. He goes, yeah, I'll let somebody know about this. And I'm like, no, you need to let him know right now.
We all know that guy is 23 years old and this is his first intern job. That's hilarious.
Oh, totally.
All right. Well, thanks for your story and thanks for the good voices. I appreciate that.
Okay. No problem.
All
Bye-bye.
Right. That's Amy in Louisville. We go up to Argyle. Hey, Lee, what was your voting experience like?
Hi, James. Always enjoy the show. But I had a good experience. I'm actually calling because maybe I was dreaming, but I thought I remembered that in one of the past few elections, we voted to have only English ballots. Did we not?
I don't know specifically what you're talking about, but like the propositions that we all voted on yesterday, these aren't legally binding. This is just sort of like a litmus test, almost like just a straw poll, just to get a feeling where the Republican primary voters' heads at. So I think if we voted on a proposition where it was like we want English only ballots, that doesn't mean that's going to come to pass. Just like yesterday when you voted to ban Sharia law, that doesn't mean Sharia law is banned just because that passed.
Yes, thank you. You are correct. I forgot about that. So that was it. And that's why the ladies, when they asked me if I wanted English or Spanish, they said, yeah, I remember that.
Look, what you're saying, what you're saying is one of the things that is the most obviously flawed policies that people are scared to point out. Excuse me, if you can't speak English, you have no business voting in any election in America ever. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what they said on Meet the Press. You don't know what they said at any of their campaign rallies. You don't know, and you are uninformed. And plus, you're clearly not integrated enough in our culture and our society to be deciding our leaders.
Thank you, James.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Just Lee and Argyle sharing that. I really loved hearing all the stories. If you didn't get on, all you people on hold, send me an email, james@wbap.com. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on Newstalk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.